Please welcome Mr. David Rivkin, President of the International Bar Association.
Thank you very much. It's a great privilege to address this audience on behalf of the International Bar Association. The IBA is the world's leading organization of lawyers from around the world. We have more than 80,000 members from more than 170 countries. We also include about 200 bar associations and law societies around the world. And climate change has been one of the central focuses of our work over the last few years. The legal profession has a critical role to play in the fight to combat climate change, which we all know is the greatest challenge of our time. From the articulation and adoption of domestic and international laws necessary to mitigate and to adapt to climate change, to the interpretation, implementation, and enforcement of those rules, to advising governments, businesses, and NGOs on creative solutions, the international legal community has been and will continue to be integrally involved in each step of the process. And the IBA, the International Bar Association, plays a central role in driving and coordinating the legal community's response to climate change. One of the greatest strengths of the IBA in meeting this challenge is the diversity of interests that we represent. Commercial practitioners, lawmakers, judges, corporate counsel, civil society representatives, and bar leaders. The IBA can harness and reflect the many viewpoints and skills necessary to fight climate change. Indeed, the challenges posed by climate change have been one of our central focuses in recent years, and I'm proud to say that it's been one of my priorities during my tenure as president last year and this year. A signature feature of the IBA's work in this field has been its adoption of a human rights and justice-based approach to climate change. The concept of climate change justice was first introduced by our fellow lawyer, Mary Robinson, former President of Ireland and the Secretary General's Special Representative on Climate Change Justice. This concept recognizes that climate change disproportionately affects those who are most unable to deal with its impact, and that governments and businesses and civil society have to meet their needs and have to act in a way that will protect those who are most vulnerable. In 2014, the IBA published a report, Achieving Justice and Human Rights in an Era of Climate Disruption. It surveyed domestic and international legal regimes addressing climate change and made recommendations as to how they could be reformed to mitigate and adapt to climate change, and critically, to enhance climate change justice. The task force report contains over 50 specific and practical recommendations to achieve greater justice and human rights in the global response to climate change. The recommendations span domestic, regional, and international legal regimes and include reforms of substantive and procedural law and trade and investment policies, promotion of capacity building, knowledge transfer, and training, and transparency in decision-making and dispute resolution provisions. The proposals are aimed at international organizations, states, individuals, and businesses. There's something in there for everybody. Mary Robinson quickly called it the flagship report in the field, and we know that UN negotiators and others in the field keep it on their desk and have used it as a steady reference tool. The report is available on the International Bar Association's website. It's also available on the app for this conference. If you go to the partner organizations, click on International Bar Association, you will see both the complete report and an executive summary of it, as well as some other IBA documents relating to climate change and our mission. One of the IBA's recommendations was the incorporation of explicit language in the Paris Agreement for the protection of human rights during climate change activities and the development of a dispute resolution mechanism. I was very heartened to see that in the preamble to the Paris Agreement, the recognition that when taking climate change, states should respect and promote human rights obligations, and in particular, the rights of local communities, migrants, children, and young people. In other words, the most vulnerable. Since the adoption of the task force report in 2014, the IBA has continued to push for the implementation of the recommendations in that report, including the establishment of 2 working groups, which have focused very much on the issues that have been dealt with over the last couple of days. One is exploring the legal aspects of adaptation, specifically the challenges presented by climate change mitigation, food security, and technology transfer. The other is developing a model statute on legal remedies to be used by states to reform domestic rules of court and procedural rules to allow plaintiffs to overcome some of the many obstacles faced by would-be climate change litigants seeking to enforce statutory obligations or to exercise their environmental rights before domestic courts. We've also made proposals regarding a potential international court on the environment. Most importantly, lawyers have expertise in developing creative solutions to issues and in working to create certainty in framing parties' expectations. These are particularly important skills in the topics we have addressed yesterday and today: accelerating climate action, implementing the Paris Treaty and moving forward with many of the ideas that have been expressed at this conference will require innovative new forms of agreements, including public-private partnerships, intra-industry agreements, intergovernmental agreements, and agreements among governments, corporations, and local stakeholders in particular. Lawyers have to assist in framing these agreements in order to serve their goals. They also have to form effective dispute resolution mechanisms to deal with the disputes that will inevitably arise and make sure that the projects will nevertheless be able to continue and meet their goals. As a dispute resolution lawyer myself, I know that that community is already working on, and the IBA is already working on, new and innovative forms of dispute resolution to assist on climate change agreements. In doing so, lawyers have to think about the broad goals of society as well as their clients' individual interests. They have to be broad-based, wise counselors and not just view their job simply as advising their clients on limited aspects of and strict dictates of the law. As a result of this innovative conference, we have all learned how we can continue to work together towards the daunting but exciting task of realizing the commitments made in Paris. In order to succeed in accelerating climate action, we need thoughtful, multidisciplinary efforts. We have to bring to bear the best experience and instincts of all of the communities that have been represented here during the 2 days. The legal community, and in particular the International Bar Association, stand ready to work with all of you in meeting these challenges, and we look forward to doing so. Thank you very much for your attention.